This is the beat from Season 2, Episode 13, How to Make a Real Beat. This is the beat I made live with you guys. And I just want to further process it and mess around with it just a little bit. I'm just going to hit play here. And this was the beat. So all I have going on is I have a guitar and then we have a drum loop. So I will play the drum loop. We'll just go, again, as you can see, this one isn't organized because I was making it live and I made it quick. The next step really would be to start coloring, getting yourself organized before you jump into like a mix. When things are colored, going into the mixer, it's just going to give you a way better experience. I'm just going to push in like my middle scroll wheel and you can select your color. Maybe a blue, and I'm just going to hit enter. Right now, I'm just going to hit F2 and delete this so that when I route it in, you're going to see the color goes. All right. So this is why when you color, all right, you get your workflow going on. So just going to hit some notes again. So you can see that this guitar is routed to insert 8, coming to 8, and we have a reverb. So I'm just going to save this. We're going to go File, Save As. We'll just go mixed, okay? Because I'll just do a little mix here with you and I want to show you just a little bit of what's going on. Now here's a really cool trick I learned in FL Studio. So this is what you see in a lot of video editor programs. It's called Ripple, R-I-P-P-L-E, okay? So I'm right clicking here and I'm just going to drag from here and we're going to remove this. And I think it's Alt and Delete. Or Control and Delete. Yeah, it's Control and Delete. Okay, so you see what it just did? The gray notes are what's coming to the beginning when I hit Control and Delete in whatever's highlighted. And this is called Ripple. Because watch, if I delete, that's what happens. And then I'd have to come in, highlight this, and then manually drag it over. So like that takes a while. And so with this highlighted, I'm just going to press Control and Delete. And I think that would work too. There you go, because it cuts that space. Okay, very, very cool. So I haven't really had a chance to use that and teach you guys about that because again, I use that always in video editing, very, very fast. Let's just color these just kind of quickly. And let's go, again, I always write in capitals. We're gonna get a brighter brown. So I'm just gonna go up like higher. It just makes it easier to see and easier to teach for you. I see that when I laid it out, I had a problem here. I have 2 pattern 3s. I wanted it to be pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern. See, now the pattern's happening, right? So I screwed up. I have 2 3s here. And when I color this, you're going to see that they're going to be different colors. So I'll go, again, always capitals. It just looks nicer in FL Studio. Hi-hats, F2, just give it a random color. Or that's going to be hi-hats 1. I want pattern 2 just to be either darker or a little brighter. I'm going to say brighter. Okay. So now they're similar, but we can see that there's a difference. We're going to hit enter to bring that back. That's a part of my FL Studio workflow, as you can see. All right. I teach you this in my FL Studio beginners course to get you all set up and organized. Holding down Alt and the scroll wheel to do that. So we look at the hi-hat. So this is the hi-hat, and watch, when we click hi-hat 2, you're going to see all I did was add 1 extra hi-hat. That's it. And so this is what I'm saying, that this allows freshness to the listener's ear. Otherwise, the pattern is just always the same looping. Now, I have the same drum loop, as you can see if I click on every one. Otherwise, I would have done the same coloring thing, because then I'd know that I just had a little bit of variation in that pattern, which is a similar color, which is what we did here. Let's play it in the playlist and I'll switch back and forth. So I'll click on hi-hats 1 and we're going to see in the playlist. Right? Right? So you can hear that is giving it its breath. It's something that now, watch, when we put the drum loop over, let's do the same thing. Right? I wanted to play with this guitar here. It just sounds like this. Again, I have my metronome on, but it'll just allow you to hear. Okay, also, I don't have the 2 reverbs on, which is what we were doing a long time ago, right? I was showing you on the reverb. Open it up, right? We have the high cut, we have the low cut. If we open up an EQ, I'll show you exactly what that means. Okay, so again, I'm just going to show you on FabFilter, but don't worry, you can do this on your own EQs. This is our low cut, and this is our high cut. We have low frequencies, high frequencies. But what I was trying to say is I use the low cut on this at 400 hertz. Well, where's 400 hertz? That's around here. Okay? Because again, in FL Studio, if you look in the top left, hover over the low cut, 424 hertz. So when I talk, I usually talk kind of generally. In the lower frequencies, like, it really matters more. Like if we're talking like 80 hertz to like 50 hertz, like, that's quite drastic. But if we're talking like, 400 to 410 hertz, it's just like, it's a much littler change, but there is a difference. Okay, so let's get rid of this. And we're going to just come back to this, hit play, and I just want to mess with some EQ. I also talked in the episode, I needed to lower down the low frequencies, otherwise the guitar was sounding way too heavy on the low end, and it was pulling away from the drum loop. So let's just play. Okay, so watch, if I turn it off, let's just disable this automation clip, and we'll bring this back. And actually, so before I switch over to showing you just the mixing, at the end of the song, what I did, because it felt like when it ended, it didn't sound like it completed. So you can see just the extra notes that are there. So I held down Shift, I clicked, and then I brought in just the beginning of the notes. And this gave me that resolving sound, and I was like, oh, that's way better. So sometimes that might be what you have to do to finish off the ending. So check this out. Right? So that gave it like the ending. But now let's listen to that with that EQ on again. So I have it disabled here. Bring back here. But now that guitar is a lot more controlled. It's allowing the drums to be the drums, allow you to have like a more fuller kind of, you have a lot more to work with now. Okay, so let's just, and sometimes that metronome is nice, and sometimes I find myself, let's just say we have this already. So again, this is the exclusive audio drum bundle trio I talked about in the episode as well. I use this all the time. You guys can get special pricing on my website by going to itsgratuitous.com/drums. I'm looking for maybe like a rim shot because that's pretty powerful. So let's just see. Organic drum kit might have rim shots. I know I've seen them before. So various percussion, shakers. But again, you can just see how, how organized this is. And so if I were to make my beats, maybe I'll take this and I can maybe make it into a rim shot by pitching it up. We'll just look just really quickly though still, because it also allows you to see this kit. And I talk about it all the time. So Survival's percussion isn't organized that way. Survival was one of Xavier's older kits, and I remember he was saying that he didn't like it very much. And I was like, man, that was like one of my favorite kits. And then I remember I guess he went through it again and he decided to like release it because we as beat makers and content creators, they always say, you're your own worst critic. Right? I had a friend who say that sometimes. And if you think about it, it's like, he wasn't super happy with his work, but then I was using it and I was like, man, like it's awesome sounds. So you as a music producer, sometimes you go through those things too, that if you make a beat you might think, oh, it's not very good, but you could just be being hard on yourself. Okay, so let's just look one more time for these rim shots. Okay, so I'm wanting a sound, and we'll just go to a new pattern. So this was the guitar. That must have been another attempt at it. So I had two versions. I'll just leave this. And right now you see the automation clip in there. I usually like this to be unsorted, and then it's just like all like your sounds. And so what I'm going to do is I want just to have like the metronome. So I don't want the actual metronome sound, but maybe we can just play that on like the 1, 2, 3, 4 like a metronome. Maybe turn it down maybe a little bit. And so watch, we'll add this in. And sometimes this is powerful because what happens is if we play the beat with the metronome and then you take away the metronome, sometimes it's like, oh man, like I kind of like that loud 1, 2, like it just, but it doesn't have to be a metronome sound. So here it is. Take it away. Put it in. Okay, so let's try it with our own. We'll turn off the metronome, bring back in this pattern. I'm going to turn it up so we can really hear it, make it prominent, and maybe dial it back. So a little aggressive. Bring it back. I'm going to pitch it up a little bit. Bring it back. Turn it down. Okay, so this sound, let's bring it to a mixer. Put some compression on it. Let's just make it like a super even sound. Not too intense. Like I'm just going to be doing something like this. Like, okay, so like turn it off. It's just fuller sound. Okay, it's going to sound way more fuller in the mix. So watch this. Because of my FL Studio template, this is how fast I can mix. So we just route this to maybe the exciter, add some brightness. Okay, watch. Off. On. Just giving us those highs. So now if I were to mix, I would usually just have it looping, but what we will do is we're going to right click and just highlight these, and this will allow me to keep working. So I'm going to turn this down. We're also going to, so again, it's at the exciter. We're going to add some reverb. So a little too much. And again, it's going to loop, so it's going to allow us to keep working. So something like this. A little more. I want to hear it. Try the other reverb. A little too much. So I just want to EQ just a little bit here. And I'm going to, let's just see. Again, auto gain is on. So we're hearing the volume changes live. So hear how we're able to hear the drums a lot better. So without it, listen for those drums. Okay, so maybe we are going a little bit too much. So let's try some brightness. Okay, I'm gonna use my scroll wheel to open up my cue, get it nice and wide so I can just kind of hear what's going on. Okay, so you know we're boosting up so highs, but the auto compensation is taking into account, even though that wasn't very accurate. But you know the highs are there. That was quite high. Okay, so now we have the power of Pro Q3. So really we could just open up a compressor here and we can start compressing this, but we can easily now just adjust it right here by enabling some, this is compression, it's dynamic EQ. You don't have tons of control over it, but it's a nice feature and it can make things a lot easier. So I'm gonna be aggressive here and let's get some brightness. So this cleans it up. The highs might be a little too much. So let's just pull back those highs a little bit. And then I'll go between A and B now, because again, we have 3 states, right? On and off, A and B. Turn it off. Turn it off just in general. Again, the nice thing of Pro Q3, we can say, do you know what? We're just gonna pull it all back just a little bit. So again, you can get your own EQ, make these adjustments, just making sure that you have a fair volume comparison, because in the episode I talked to you about the master volume. Every plugin and usually every EQ plugin and every compressor plugin usually has a master volume. So what's happening is if you're cutting or boosting, you want to make sure that the volume is fair, so when you turn the plugin off and on. And if you are using the Fruity Parametric Eq2, let me show you exactly how to do that. Again, these plugins are great, and usually if I'm talking about FabFilter to the Parametric Eq2, I'm not talking about sound quality. That's what I'm not talking about. It's workflow. But here is how we would do that. So if we listen, let's just boost them here. Okay. Now you also have an A and a B. So I'm going to click here. I think so this is stored in this spare state. We can now click here. Let's just reset. And as you can see, if I switch in between them, that's how you get A and B. So listen here though, and that's a bit aggressive. So let's do something around here, okay? And I'm gonna come back. Now listen for the other one, it's gonna be much louder. It's louder. So let's just say, it's like, well, let's say we like this, but it's louder. This is what I'm saying. Nope. Let's just say on 3, we'll bring that down a little bit. Right? So now we're getting into more like, let's say mastering, right? Like we're just trying to compare in between, like what do we like better, fair volume comparison before. So this is much louder and it just sounds way more even, right? But we are adjusting it by about 6 decibels, which is a lot. So let's just say we go from like 2 decibels, bring up that volume though. Now, again, just because I boost up 2 here doesn't mean I have to do 2 here. It's just we're looking for the fair volume comparison. So I still think we need to be louder. Okay. So that's how you use this with the Parametric EQ2. So this is a great plugin, and that's why I say you don't need FabFilter plugins to take my courses, but the FabFilter plugins, as you can see when I was initially showing you guys like just the workflow and how I can show things and how easy it makes some things other, comparing. But this is a great EQ. This is what I learned off of. All right. You guys got to learn about your low frequencies, your mids, your highs. You got to learn about your different shapes by right-clicking, right? Learn about all these different styles. You have your steepnesses, but great plugin, okay? You hop into now the Pro Q3 and it's just, you were seeing my workflow with the off and on. We get the dynamic compression. Again, you don't need that because I probably would have just used a compressor afterwards. But the auto gain compensation is so awesome for workflow. Right? You saw me when I was adjusting it, like we're hearing the volume changes live, which allows us just to flow really good. But yeah, so go check out this podcast episode, listen to it, and then you can watch this video again and hopefully it just brings further clarity. And if you would like me to teach you how to make beats, you can visit my training platform on itsgratuitous.com. You can contact me at any time as well. Let me just play this out. Again, we have our automation clip. We also have our very last ending notes, and it really helps finish the song. Otherwise, it doesn't sound complete, which I showed you how to do when I duplicated that, right? Again, you can go back to the beginning of this video to check that out.